10 ways to teach children to think critically. In an age of information overload and rapid change, one of the most valuable gifts parents can give their children isn't a specific skill or piece of knowledge. It's the ability to think for themselves. What is critical thinking? Critical thinking is the ability to analyze information objectively, question assumptions, evaluate evidence, and form reasoned judgments rather than simply accepting information at face value. For children, it means developing the skills to ask why and how, recognize bias, solve problems creatively, and make thoughtful decisions independently. But critical thinking isn't a modern invention. Its roots stretch back over 2 millennia. The Socratic method, where critical thinking began. The foundation of critical thinking as we understand it today was laid by the ancient Greek philosopher Socrates in the 5th century BC. Rather than lecturing his students with facts and answers, Socrates developed a revolutionary approach to teaching through questioning. The Socratic method involves asking a series of probing questions that guide learners to examine their own beliefs, identify contradictions in their reasoning, and arrive at deeper understanding through their own thought processes. Socrates famously declared that the unexamined life is not worth living, emphasizing that true wisdom comes not from accumulating information, but from questioning what we think we know. In a typical Socratic dialogue, the teacher might ask, "What is freedom?" When the student offers a definition, the teacher doesn't immediately correct or confirm it. Instead, they ask follow-up questions that expose gaps or inconsistencies in the reasoning. If freedom means giving people what they want, would it be appropriate to return a weapon to a friend who has become violently angry? Through this process, students learn to think more carefully, consider counterexamples, and refine their ideas. This ancient approach remains remarkably relevant today. The Socratic method teaches us that critical thinking isn't about having all the answers. It's about asking the right questions, examining our assumptions, and being willing to revise our understanding when evidence warrants it. These are precisely the skills children need in our complex, rapidly evolving world. Why are parents prioritizing critical thinking now? Several contemporary factors are driving parents to emphasize critical thinking skills. First, the digital information age. Children today are constantly bombarded with information from social media, websites, YouTube, and countless other sources. Parents recognize that kids need tools to distinguish reliable information from misinformation, identify bias, and evaluate the credibility of sources. Second, a changing job market. The rapidly evolving economy means that memorizing facts is less valuable than knowing how to think, adapt, and solve novel problems. Jobs that exist today may not exist in 20 years, but the ability to think critically will always be valuable. Third, combating echo chambers. Many parents are concerned about polarization and want their children to consider multiple perspectives before forming opinions. Critical thinking skills help children engage with diverse viewpoints thoughtfully rather than dismissively. Fourth, promoting independence. Parents want to raise children who can make sound decisions on their own, resist peer pressure, and navigate challenges without constant guidance. Critical thinking is fundamental to developing this independence. The good news is that parents don't need specialized training to foster critical thinking. Here are 10 concrete, actionable strategies you can implement starting today. 1. Encourage questioning. When your child asks why, resist the temptation to provide a quick answer or dismiss the question. Instead, engage with their curiosity. Ask follow-up questions like, "What do you think?" or "Why do you think that happens?" This teaches children that questioning is valued and that they're capable of finding answers. Even when questions seem endless or inconvenient, remember that you're building a foundation for lifelong learning. If you don't know the answer, say so and explore the question together. 2. Model your thinking. Children learn by watching and listening. When making decisions, narrate your thought process. For example, "I'm trying to decide which route to take home. The highway is faster, but there might be traffic at this time." The side roads are slower but more predictable. I think I'll check the traffic app first. This demonstrates how to weigh options, consider consequences, and use available information to make informed choices. It also shows that thinking through decisions is a normal, valuable practice. 3. Play what-if games. Pose hypothetical scenarios that require creative problem-solving. What if cars couldn't use roads anymore? How would people get around? Or, what if we could only eat foods that were blue? What would we eat? These exercises stretch imaginative thinking, help kids consider multiple solutions, and teach them that problems often have more than one right answer. They also make critical thinking fun rather than feeling like a chore. 4. Teach media literacy. Watch commercials or scroll through social media together and discuss the persuasive techniques being used. Ask questions like, what is this ad trying to make you feel? What are they not telling us? Who created this content and why? How could we verify if this claim is true? As children get older, discuss more complex topics like sponsored content, algorithmic curation, and how different news sources might frame the same story differently. 5. Embrace mistakes as learning opportunities. When your child makes a poor decision, resist the urge to immediately lecture or fix the problem. Instead, ask reflective questions. What happened? What were you hoping would happen? What would you do differently next time? What did you learn from this? This approach helps children develop metacognition, thinking about their own thinking, and teaches them that mistakes are valuable data rather than failures. 6. Encourage debate and discussion. Make family meals a time for age-appropriate debate. Present topics and let everyone share their views. Should schools have longer or shorter summer breaks? Is it better to save money or spend it on experiences? Teach children to support their opinions with reasons and to respectfully disagree. Model how to say, I see your point, but I think differently because... Or, that's interesting, I hadn't considered that perspective. 7. Use everyday situations. Critical thinking doesn't require special lessons. It happens naturally when you involve children in real decisions. At the grocery store, compare prices per unit or read nutrition labels together. During cooking, let them experiment with ingredient substitutions. When planning a trip, let them help research options and weigh trade-offs. These practical applications make critical thinking tangible and show children how these skills apply to daily life. 8. Ask open-ended questions. Instead of questions with single correct answers, pose open-ended challenges. How could we make mornings less rushed? What's the fairest way to divide this? Why do you think your friend reacted that way? These questions require analysis, creativity, and reasoning rather than simple recall. They also communicate that you value your child's thinking and want to hear their ideas. 9. Encourage reading and discussion. Books expose children to different perspectives, complex situations, and diverse characters. After reading together, discuss the story. Why do you think the character made that choice? What would you have done differently? Was the ending fair? These conversations help children practice analyzing motivations, predicting consequences, and evaluating decisions in a low-stakes environment. 10. Be patient with the process. Developing critical thinking skills takes time. Your child won't become a master philosopher overnight. There will be illogical arguments, questionable conclusions, and plenty of "but why" moments that test your patience. Remember that each question, each debate, and each mistake is building neural pathways that will serve them for a lifetime. The goal isn't perfection, but progress. Now, think about the long-term benefits. Children who develop strong critical thinking skills become adults who can navigate complexity, resist manipulation, solve problems creatively, and make informed decisions. They're less likely to fall for scams, more likely to engage thoughtfully with civic issues, and better equipped to adapt to whatever challenges life presents. Perhaps most importantly, they develop confidence in their own judgment. They learn that they don't need to passively accept what they're told, but can examine, question, and think for themselves. In teaching our children to think critically, we're not just preparing them for an uncertain future. We're honoring a tradition that stretches back to ancient Athens, where a curious philosopher asked questions that still echo today. What do you think? Why do you believe that? How do you know? These simple questions, asked with genuine curiosity and patience, remain the most powerful tools we have for nurturing minds that are not just filled with knowledge, but capable of wisdom.